scale, give us a shout. Our Osler office hours will be starting very soon. And scrolling across the bottom is Founders Coffee every Tuesday for entrepreneurs to come hang out, meet like-minded people. One of the things I just want to mention before we go live here, or before we talk to Addy and Rose, is it is Bell Let's Talk Day. And we all know the stresses of life, the stresses of being an entrepreneur, the stresses of everything in general. So if you are struggling and you are out there, please do not hesitate to reach out. Contact myself, contact somebody you know, and ask for help. We've lost 2 entrepreneurs last year in our community, and that's very, very tough on us. So I know it's one day, but it's a 364 days struggle for a lot of people. So please do not hesitate to ask for help. And I know it's kind of a little bit somber, but we're going to lead into this conversation. And I've been excited about this conversation, and I've been watching these 2 young ladies grow and build something special. So I'm excited. Rose, Addy, founders of Cashew, how are you today? And welcome to the show.
Really good. Thanks so much for inviting us, Jade.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. We're really excited to chat.
I know it's long. I say this a lot, and it's long overdue for us to be on here. And I'm like, oh my God, I should have had you on earlier, way, way, way earlier. But that being said, at least we're here, and yeah, I'm just pumped. Like I said before, this is the best half hour of my week, bar none. I love telling it like it is.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Jade. Yeah, like Addy said, we're super excited. Love the energy you're bringing, and just talk to you a little bit more about Cashew and what we do.
Well, let's kick that off. I mean, I love hearing founding stories, and I love hearing how co-founders and founders came across each other and how they met, and then all of a sudden, hey, let's start a unique SaaS, research data company. I mean, that's probably not something that comes up in everyday conversation. So why don't you kick off that story and let us know how you guys met and founded?
Sounds good. Okay, I'll start. Rose, just jump in, because there's lots of little tidbits I think that are funny that we can add in about our story. But Rose and I have known each other for 12 years now. We met as junior researchers at Ipsos, which is a global market research company in Calgary. So we were in a very similar role at Ipsos. We had cubicles side by side. And we hit it off right away. Rose was definitely my bestie at work. And we would commiserate with each other about, whatever challenges we had at work. And we were just always so close. And we ended up both leaving those jobs, and we took different paths. So I went agency side at Critical Mass, and Rose really delved into the client side world at ATB. And then she also got a lot of experience in UX and working with product managers and developers with digital products, also working at super.com. But throughout all of that time, we always kept in touch, and we went out for dinner one night, and we had both been talking about just the challenges of our industry, getting really good quality data faster with ease, and feeling a lot more confident about the data that we were capturing. And it was during that dinner that we decided, we talked about Cashew, and initially it was really a mobile app for people to take surveys that were really engaging and paying them cash, or other incentives that are exciting to them. And then it's now grown into a full service end-to-end platform for smaller growing brands who really need that understanding of what their customer needs, what their customer values, but they don't really know how to do that. So we provide the platform to do it in a really simple, easy to use way. Rose, jump in, whatever I missed.
No, that's great, Addy. I think in the early days, it's just so funny. Like Addy mentioned, we would meet, we met at the restaurant, and we're like, okay, let's get this underway. So we would go to her house and just start kind of ideating on poster board, just kind of drawing out those early designs. I don't know if you still have it, Addy, but I just remember those early days where it was just super exciting, and we're still in really exciting and growth mode right now. But yeah, all of those kind of ideas that were just burgeoning to the forefront of our minds, and putting pen to paper. I think that was just kind of the start of it, and the start of our journey. So
Did you ever take any pictures of that board? I was on a Zoom call the other day with somebody, and their background was one of their idea boards, right, from when they were starting. And I was like, oh, that's probably the coolest thing I've seen as a background.
I love that. No, I don't think I took any pictures, but we've completely pivoted from, those kind of early designs, which I'm sure like, most entrepreneurs can relate to. But we should do something like that, Addy.
I definitely still have it. It's in my garage. It's bright pink with black Sharpie. Like I don't even know why I had that bright pink poster board. It's not like I'm like a crafty person. I definitely don't have that stuff lying around. I must have bought it for a specific purpose, and then we're like, let's use this because we don't have a whiteboard or anything else. So yeah, it's somewhere. I should pull it up.
I just think it's funny because we had like 2 poster boards, and we're like, we're gonna nail it in the first try. It's fine.
Well, let's talk about that, right? I mean, a lot of people actually, even with peer guidance here next week, we're going to go have a whiteboarding session and a little refresher, just so, I truly believe, getting everything out of your head, writing it on a board is something good. And I know there's tech things to do for that, but I just don't feel it gets the same when you're reading it on a screen. It's different when you're actually writing it down. So talk about how that came in and how you reiterated and pivoted, because again, a lot of people do pivot and move and it's something. So how did whiteboarding actually make a big difference in that?
I think it's just the sheer, like, us really just putting pen to paper. And I think coming to the realization of, understanding that there are gaps in the industry that we really want to solve for, and how, after doing a little bit of research, we didn't find that other incumbents or players in the market were really providing solutions to those problems. So I think that really was the catalyst for Addy and I. And I think there's something in the act of just, again, jotting things down, and like you said, Jade, to actually be in person, especially living in, post-COVID world, and Zoom is and Google Meets is really like the way that most people meet nowadays. But there's an energy, I think, in sharing, collaborating in person.
Yeah, and we made it a routine. Like we met every Sunday morning for years. I don't know how many years. Like even through COVID, we did it remotely, and then we still met in person, I think, after we weren't initially like as scared or hadn't each been exposed to potential viruses. But yeah, we did it every single Sunday. Like it was so rare that we missed one of those meetings because we had full-time jobs. So we had to make that time. And getting together in person was always so powerful. I also think I was like in the agency world at that time, and everybody was all about the whiteboard. So we didn't do anything at Critical Mass without whiteboarding at first. Like that was always the first step. So I feel like I really got a lot of value from that, and that was kind of in my head too. So yeah, but we don't do that as much anymore. I miss it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I think just to expand on that, Addy, I think it's like, you can have so many ideas, Jade. Sometimes for us, it's good to be innovative and curious, but sometimes it can also like deviate your focus. So I think for me is just like, how do you create those action plans? How do you create something that you're able to execute and bring that idea to life? And so part of, that sort of whiteboarding or that documentation process, I think is like really critical for an entrepreneur.
Oh, I agree. I couldn't agree more. And even for someone like us, 4 entrepreneurs with 9 exits, we still whiteboard. Right? It's that art of getting everybody together, and there's so much information up here, and then when you start spitballing and writing it out, you just start and then I love the process and the way it goes. But I do have one more question here before we start talking about Cashew and the platform you have. And I get this question a lot. I was like, at what point did you two figure that you're both working full-time jobs? When was that? Okay, we got to go. We're all in. What was your decision process into that, saying we're going to this full time and quitting a nice paying job, and we're going to make this work?
Oh, wow. It was such a long journey for us, Jade. Like before we made that decision, like we hung on with our full-time jobs for the longest possible time. And it was only at that like real juncture where it was like all or nothing that we ended up making that decision. I think a lot of it stemmed from funding. Like we finally saw that we were likely going to get, our pre-seed investment, and then I think it was about 6 months before that actually happened, where we could pay ourselves. So, but it seemed like it was on the horizon. So we felt like we were pretty confident in that, based on the conversations we were having. So we felt better about it. But to be honest, I think it was also like it was like, okay, like if we don't do this, I don't know what's going to happen to the business. Like we have to go all in, or else maybe there won't be a future with Cashew. Yeah, we definitely needed that full time and more like 80 hours a week commitment to the business. Yeah. Rose, is curious to hear what you think.
No, Addy, I think you summarized it perfectly. I think it was just also kind of a gut feeling, Jade, that Addy articulated really well. Like, I think we were, at the time we were part of Creative Destruction Lab, a really incredible accelerator. And I think just the sort of validation we were also getting from the market, advice from our mentors, really informed that decision for Addy and I as well. And I think we really made the right call. And previously mentors were saying, keep your 9-to-5 job as long as you possibly can, and it's trying to find that balance, I think, for entrepreneurs, where you want to give it, the 60, 80 hours that Addy mentioned, but also knowing that you're probably bootstrapping, and in order to do development and build your company, you do need funds. So in addition to obviously all your personal expenses as well. So it's certainly not an easy decision, but I think like Addy said, the kind of arrival of external funds certainly helped us make that decision.
Well, that definitely helps.
Oh, yes, it does. I think there's also like two schools of thought on this whole idea. It's like you either quit at the first sign of something and just go all in, or you take more of like the marathon approach, where you try to keep your job as long as possible and maybe like iterate, tweak, listen to the market, then make that decision. And we definitely took the marathon route, I think, of those two options. So you could also go the other route and, risk it and see what happens.
Yeah, there's no wrong. I just love hearing, why, when, because I've seen, lots and lots and lots of each scenario, and I'm a big fan of learning and building your business on somebody else's dime. I mean, it's a great thing, right? Like, yeah, you might have to put in a lot more work for a few years, but again, I mean, we talk about it. It's Bell Let's Talk Day. I mean, if you quit your job and you don't have a year runway to pay your bills and feed your kids and pay your mortgage and things like that, you're going to become extremely stressed, and a company is only as healthy as its founder. So you have to make sure, something will work different for every single founder. Again, I'm talking with Rose and Addy, the founders of cashewresearch.com. You can just click on the link in the comment section. So I want to dive into the business a little bit now. And now we kind of got a little bit of the background story, your history to get there. So let's talk a little bit about, what Cashew does and how it works.
Yeah, great question. I think our business is a bit of a complicated one. A lot of jargon is often used in our space. So you hear about actionable insights, research, consumer research, customer research. At Cashew and our background as researchers, we've really built our careers in primary research. So going out to people, asking them questions about something related to a business, service, product offering, capturing their responses, analyzing them, and then making decisions based on what you heard in the market. What Cashew does is we automate that process that we follow as researchers. So just like other areas of expertise, like lawyers or data scientists, we follow processes to get a job done effectively, right? So there's a specific process that we follow as researchers that is now embedded into our software. And you're now able to access that in a very affordable, easy way with Cashew. We found that growing brands, especially, didn't have access to that type of insight from their market. And if they tried to do it themselves, they didn't get a lot of value from it because they didn't have that process and that foundation to do it effectively. So our dream was always to automate that. How could Rose and I automate ourselves as researchers and make that a lot more accessible to brands? And that's what we've finally done. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think, with AI, which we've incorporated into our platform, I believe in like 2017 it became a little bit more mainstream, and then in 2020 with like the arrival of ChatGPT 3, it just really made it much more accessible to build with AI, and the adoption just really accelerated. So I think that just really paired perfectly with Addy and I in terms of our journey and our product development. And so we've really tried to integrate it quite intentionally throughout the user experience to ensure that there is value from it.
So let's sometimes I wish we record our conversation before we actually go live, because we have some interesting interesting talks over 350 episodes. But let's talk a little bit about the AI, right? I want to know how you ladies are using AI. Like, how is it benefiting market research? I want to talk about the importance of data as well on making decisions, because I think that's something we need to discuss. But let's just let the cat out of the bag here with the AI.
Yeah, I can start, Addy, and love for feel free to jump in. To expand on also what Addy was saying before, Jade, like to go back a step, I think there are like 4 very important vectors of good quality research. So that typically starts with a strong proposal. That is a roadmap for the company or brand to essentially tell them the what, how, and why they are doing research. If you don't have that, then your entire process really lacks direction and purpose. And then following that, you have the questionnaire. So it's garbage in, garbage out. You need to, there is an art and science to the questions you ask, which obviously impacts the data. And then the sample, has to be high quality, removal of bots and bad players. Again, that impacts the quality of your insights. And then the analysis and interpretation of that data. And so, that in very broad strokes is kind of like that end-to-end experience of someone conducting research, and all of those components come together. And if you fail in any one of those, it can very well impact the quality of your research. So going back to AI has such a large context window that it can take so many of these factors into consideration and really help you with, questionnaire design. It's looking at the market, the industry trends. When we're doing the analysis and interpretation of it, it can, look at a data set in seconds where a human might take several days to do that analysis. It can look at correlations and patterns. So overall, it really can help you remove of that end-to-end research flow and really provide you in plain language much more actionable insights. Addy, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, Rose. I think the other piece that is really helpful is a hypothesis that people often don't think about when they conduct research. So they may have ideas on what they want to prove or disprove. A founder or a marketing person at a CPG company may not be thinking in that way, but it's when they want to do research, and they may try to do a Google form or something like that and then not get a ton of value out of it. But the reason is a lot of time it's lacking that hypothesis. So you have to be really focused about how you design your study, just the way you would with like clinical research. Are you going to find something or not? So that's just another piece of the puzzle that our platform embeds into how we recommend certain studies, approaches. The sample that Rose talked about, the questions that we ask, they all kind of follow that framework.
Yeah, and with Cashew, we're not trying to replace researchers by any means. We're very passionate about the ecosystem. We have many colleagues that we admire in the industry. I think AI is not a replacement of those roles, but really just an augmentation of how people work. So, again, going back to that user journey, we really wanted to have a very close lens on where are those areas in that workflow that we can really automate and give people back time, because what we found in market time and time again is people are time poor and their information and insights poor. So, and this was also advice I got from a research mentor years ago that I still think to this day is as your role as a researcher, even if you're not research literate, but you value research and you want to conduct research, I would still consider you a researcher. Your work really starts when that report is done. How are you then able to leverage those insights to solve the problems that you originally started off with? How are you able to evangelize and disseminate those results? So, our automation and AI really allows researchers to do that.
Well, time waits for no one, so it is very valuable. Right. So as you move your company forward, and as you grow, and you're in that stage now, who are you working with? Like, what type of industries, what type of companies are you looking for? Are you finding that you have a handful that are here? Do you see any other industries that you would be able to reach out and help? And I mean, here's a chance to kind of ask for business.
Yeah, a great question. So, when we first started out, we really were working with everybody. So anybody that we knew in our network who needed research, we would be working with them. Over time, we've learned that it's better to focus on a certain type of customer because they have specific needs, and then we can, ensure that we can meet those needs and follow more of a consistent process for them as well. So we are really focused in the CPG space. So, and then even more specifically, we've found our stride with food and beverage CPG companies, or who sell in retail. So, yeah, like companies that we work with, a beloved Canadian brand, Beaver Tails, is a core customer of ours. We learned a lot through that process. I think they did too. They really saw the value of using data to inform marketing decisions versus going with your gut. And the reason I think that we see this stride or traction with these types of companies is because they move really fast and their business is constantly evolving. There's new flavors, there's new trends. Packaging is so essential. Your message is so essential with how you resonate with consumers. So really getting into their minds, understanding what is most appealing is very impactful. And research is kind of like that method to get those insights. We also work with larger companies like Shopify, where they are kind of like a great avenue to those CPG companies, and they really, really deeply understand all those companies because they serve them obviously with their technology. So that's been extremely helpful to us as well, kind of having that broader lens.
CPG, oh God, food close to my heart.
Yeah.
I wish I had you guys when we were trying to grow Nathan's, but probably saved us so many errors.
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
It's literally bringing back nightmares for me right now.
Yeah, and I think just on that topic, Jade, I think like the biggest challenge that we're hearing, and we heard when we were in industry as well, is just waiting too long to incorporate research. We're finding with some of our clients, they have a little bit of success, which is fantastic, but then they often hit a point of stagnation, whether it's a plateau in like growth, declining engagement, or just missed opportunities. And only then do they decide to sort of test their strategies and like, oh, we now need to know what our customers think. And then they will start doing that. So, but by that point, when you think about it, they've lost time and momentum. So I think, instead of being so reactive and doing episodic research, just being much more proactive in including research in your everyday business dialogue. I think that's really critical.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I see so many, especially in the, the CPG or food or anything along those lines. Like it's there's so many variables. I mean, we live through it, right? We help a lot of companies and do a lot of different things, through peer guidance and stuff like that. So it's, I see the power in this, and I mean, a lot of times back in the day when we would, look into stuffing or trying to do a focus group, it was really, really expensive, right? It was expensive for us to do that. When you're an entrepreneur, it's a penny business. Like every penny matters. And are we going to have to, figure it out on our own or pay X amount of thousands of dollars? I don't know. I don't know which way was right. Obviously we were able to be successful and sell our company, but it's just like, oh, I mean, what could you have done? I know there's no like what ifs out there.
Yeah, we hear that a lot too, where, maybe it did end up working out for the company and they're still seeing that growth and things are going well. But it's like that feeling you have while you're growing where you're like, am I making the right decision? I'd really like to ask someone to get some insight before I make this decision and not just take a massive risk. But it's cost prohibitive typically. Now, it won't be, but it's just something that you can't even wrap your head around, and not even just cost, but timing, because of all those manual steps Rose was talking about within the research process. It was extremely time consuming to do all of those steps, like weeks and weeks on end. So now, again, like what we talked about with AI, we do save a lot of time and a lot of money.
Well, that's good. And again, anybody wants any more information, just head to the website, cashewresearch.com. It's in the comments section. Click on it, and it'll take you directly there. I also want to just touch a little bit on, just kind of going back. It's very hard to raise money, and you guys were nice, good enough to secure from Jacques and Brian at Metquity, who I am huge fans of, and love everything that they do, and the early stage investments that they do, and I'd like to continue to thank them for doing that. So how was that? I should have asked this a little earlier, but I just wanted to how was that process for you, going out into our community and our ecosystem, and when everybody, it's very difficult. It doesn't matter whether people say it's now or if it's Canada or if it's Calgary or whatever it is. How was that process for you?
With 3 minutes left, I will try to summarize.
We got more time. We got 2 more questions left. So we're going over.
Okay, good. Okay. Wow. I mean, I think we were really naive when we started fundraising, and we didn't know a lot about the process or what to expect, as much as we tried to research it and consume whatever we could in terms of advice there was out there. It took us a while to, understand how much we should raise and what we should be raising for. I'm going to do a shout out to CDL, because I really think CDL was a huge step for us. Like, without that experience, I don't know if we would have been able to communicate as effectively about our vision for Cashew. And it was tough. Like, it was a tough process, and we were definitely questioned over and over again. But I think we needed that to really think about, like, what is it that we were going to build and why we needed the money and all of those other questions. So yeah, I mean, overall, I would say, like, since we got a lot more focused on what exactly we wanted to raise and the plan we had, the journey was pretty smooth. Like, it definitely takes longer than you think, but once we had that kind of good pitch deck, that good story, it seemed to go a lot better. But it was a big learning curve to get there. Lots of pivoting, lots of redoing of the pitch, some meeting with people. And then I would also say, like, building relationships was also a huge learning for us. Like, that investor relationship with Brian and Jacques came from months and months of meetings. We really got to know them as people, and they got to know us as people. And I truly think that's why people end up investing, because it's all about trust. So they need to trust that the founder is going to deliver on what they're promising.
Totally. And I would just say, like, our investors were so fortunate to have the ones that really truly believed in us, and many supported us from the very beginning. But I would just say, the investors that you pair yourself with, that's a really critical relationship. So, being careful in terms of making sure that not only is their investing thesis important, but also that they strongly believe, in your leadership and your vision and what you want to build as entrepreneurs and builders and founders. I think that's really critical.
The two big points you said there are, number one, it takes time, and it's trust, right? You have to get to know, and I mean that's something that's huge because, to be quite honest, I hear and I see everybody out there saying, and a big shout out to CDL, and I do love what they do and how they help and how they give back and everything that goes with them, but everybody's put such an emphasis on the pitch, and the pitch really doesn't matter. It might open up the door, but if you walk into me or walk into Brian or you walk into Mark or you walk into anybody and you introduce yourself at a networking event, they're going to offer to say, hey, yeah, I'll sit down and have a coffee with you or take a Zoom call with you, right? And that sometimes you don't even need a pitch. It's going to take time. There's got to be that trust because investment is in you more than anything at this point.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing on that. Like with CDL and the process that it creates, it was kind of like Brian wasn't part of CDL, but we kind of did the same thing. Like Brian and I met numerous times one-on-one to really get to know each other. CDL, you go through a process over 9 months. So you are working with those mentors, in 3-month periods of time, and you have to show up over and over again, and you have to show results. So they have to know, okay, you guys said you're going to do this. Where's the traction with all those things you said you were going to do? And I felt like we did a really good job of showing up, and we took our word really seriously, and we delivered. And that builds that trust. And I don't know if Rose and I are just like slow burn type of people, but I think we are. I think as you get to know us, the onion layers, unravel, and you get to see who we really are and what we have to offer. And maybe some people are just like, they pitch really, really well right out of the door and it resonates immediately. But I think I agree with you, Jade, where it's more about, building that relationship and seeing how people show up over and over.
Totally, yeah.
It's so important, right? And especially, I am every company that, until this latest one that we're about to start and launch, have never raised capital. We've always bootstrapped every single thing. I love bootstrapping. I think it's important. It's the only capital that you can control. And I love that, right? And then at some point that you're going to get there and that you might be investable. And obviously, Jacques and Brian thought that you were, and I'm sure you will be down the road again. And treating that money as every penny counts is so important because you never know if you're going to get another investment. So understanding how to spend that money properly is so important. So now, what's next for you guys?
I don't know, Rose, you go first.
We've got some really exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. Yeah, I think right now we're just like, heads down in growth mode, Jade. So expanding our team, ensuring that we surround ourselves with really great, local talent that can, bring us to the next stage. We've got some great we're releasing we're doing our commercial release, I should say, in February, because as right now we are in a private beta and just doing a lot of data collection and refining our product, and just really listening to customers. But yeah, February is going to be a massive month for us, and right now we're just meeting with a lot of clients. So yeah, if anyone out there is interested in connecting with us, please do. We love talking about research. We love learning about companies and how we can, help take them to the next stage. Addy, did you have anything to
add? We're going to Dubai next week, which should be interesting. Or Sharjah, actually, through DMZ. So yeah, lots to kind of discover there, explore. There's a huge market. Not a huge research presence, so we're excited to share our platform, do some demos at the Entrepreneurship Festival that's happening on February 1st and 2nd. And then outside of that, we're really just planning for a widespread launch of our platform, as well as moving our mobile app community of survey takers into the US as well.
Awesome. Those are Those are great goals, and I'm excited to watch where you take this next. It's it's been a pleasure to watch what you and Addy have built, and yeah, it's again, it's cool. And I wish I would have had you earlier, but we have you now, and I think we'll probably come back and by the end of the year and see where you've come. But I love companies. Like, I think you're a story that in my opinion, that needs to be heard. You've gone out there, you met, you became friends, you became business partners, you stayed at a job, you found it at the right time to go, you bootstrapped it, you got an investment. I mean, and that just didn't happen in 4 months. Like, it's a process that it is to get there, and all good companies take time to build. I mean, you never, like, very, very rarely do you see something. So kudos to you for sticking with it. And that kind of leads into my next question. And my last question is, if you had one piece of advice for a entrepreneur, startup, or founder, what would that be? Addy, kick us off.
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to pivot. I know that you hear that a lot, but I think not being tied to your initial idea is extremely important, and being as open-minded as possible, and listening to the market to guide that decision to pivot. So you might have an initial idea, go test it, see if it resonates with people. But then if you see a different pattern, go with it, because you can't just hold on to whatever your initial idea was, and it could really grow and change. I think most companies are very different from what they initially had launched as. So I wish I knew that, honestly, going into this. I didn't at all. No matter how many like startup podcasts you listen to, you don't understand until you live it. But I think just like going into the process, knowing your idea, your business is going to change and evolve so many different times, and just being okay with it.
Yeah, and I think mine kind of ties in with Addy's, but I think just really staying curious and embracing change. Like, the world, especially in tech, is constantly evolving. So if you're not exploring, learning, and just adapting, you're already falling behind. So I don't know where I heard this, but I love it. Curiosity should be, your greatest accomplice. I can't take credit for that, but I really believe in it. It should drive you to ask questions, challenge assumptions, challenge the status quo, uncover new opportunities. How can you improve on, V1, V2, V3, and always add value? So, and I think resiliency is really important. You're probably going to have a lot of doors closed in your face, sometimes not so gently. So I think just making sure that you have that grit and, being able to pivot, like Addy said, to really persevere and have really strong conviction in your vision, because you'll get there. But I think resiliency is also key.
No, I love it. Both are great pieces of advice, and yeah, I mean, there's lots of doors closed, and you just keep on banging on them. That's just the joy of business, the joy of sales, the joy of bootstrapping, the joy. I that's one part of the thing I loved in my journey in my career was, it was like water off tap. It just didn't bother me. I just went to the next one, and I just shake it off. It's just like, okay, that's like it didn't even happen. So, I mean, not everybody's like that, but again, it's you have to learn to become like that. So, and yeah, I mean, wow, what a great conversation. I really appreciate Rose and Addy, you guys coming on, sharing your story, sharing, what Cashew is and what your vision and where you're going. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Trade. This was a great opportunity to chat with you, and to thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, anytime. Anytime. And again, for anybody that, wants to come out, it's Bell Let's Talk Day. Reach out to somebody, check in on them, make sure make sure they're doing well. And again, if you need to talk, please reach out to myself, reach out to anybody. And Founders Coffee is a place for that. So every Tuesday, it's for like-minded founders and entrepreneurs. Come say hi, have a coffee. It's a great community. We average anywhere from 14 to 25 a week, and it's just it's a good place to come, just come have a coffee. So again, Rose, Addy, thank you so much for everything you do. For anybody else wants to find out more, click on the website in the comment section, and we'll go from there. Until then, I hope everybody has a fantastic Wednesday, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.